In this video lesson, you'll learn how to paint a realistic still life in watercolor using different painting methods and techniques.
Still Life with Melon by Vladimir London. Here is the finished piece that will be done by the end of this video lesson. To make a good-looking composition, I will use the golden proportion caliper. To begin with, I will measure the golden ratio horizontally. Do not worry if you don't have a caliper. You can do the same measurement using a ruler and a calculator. Just divide any measurement by 1.62, and this will give you the golden proportion. You can also subdivide some measurements in the golden ratio once again, as I just did in this video. On the right-hand side, there is a jar made of brown clay. This object is almost symmetrical, apart from the handle and the top rim, and that is why I started drawing this jar by depicting its virtual vertical axis. Then, I added horizontal lines, which serve the purpose of the main axis of 3 ovals, and added those ovals using the rules of linear perspective. You can see that I'm drawing this jar as if it were totally transparent. This is one of the main rules of constructive drawing. If you draw all objects as wireframes, you will avoid many constructive mistakes. For example, I just added a melon, and now I will draw the footprint of the jar, projected to the ground. This footprint corresponds to the level where the widest part of the melon is, which is also projected as an oval on the ground. These two footprints, marked as ovals, only touch but do not intersect each other, which means that the melon does not intersect the jar. If what I do in this drawing is not fully familiar to you, then you might have some gaps in your understanding of constructive drawing principles. Do not worry. Those principles are not so difficult. You can easily learn all you need to know about them in the Drawing Academy online course. In this video course, you will learn how to draw whatever you see or imagine by watching 45 video lessons. Those lessons give in-depth information on linear and aerial perspective, rules of composition, golden proportions, proficient techniques of tonal rendering, and much more. The Drawing Academy course comes with a lifetime membership and unlimited personal support from the course tutors, which includes critiques of your artwork and answers to your art-related questions. Now I will add the big jar's decoration design. To do it believably in perspective, I first draw a virtual circle and divide it into 16 equal segments. These segments will help me to mark 8 visible sections on the curved body of the jar in perspective with the necessary precision. If I lost you somewhere with this geometry in perspective, do not worry. This video is not about how to draw jars, but how to paint a still life in watercolor. If you have some questions about constructive drawing, you will find all the answers in the Drawing Academy course. I pre-mixed a light tint of orange color to make the first wash, which is called imprimatura. I will cover the whole piece with this mix, apart from several places I would like to keep white. I apply this wash with the Natural Hair Escoda mop brush, which takes a lot of paint and releases it nicely on the paper. The painting method I am using is called the wet-on-dry plane wash. I tend not to use masking fluid unless it is absolutely necessary. It is better to preserve white by painting around areas without applying any masking. The dark background is in place, and it's time to paint the still life objects. I'm applying clean water over the jar with a soft, flat brush. In watercolor, it's better to start from light tones and then continue to mid-tones and shadows. This melon is essentially a sphere and, as such, it has the entire range of tonal values, starting from the highlight, then light, mid-tones, shadow, reflected light, and cast shadow. The creative task I have in mind is to make this painting by applying several very transparent washes of watercolor paint. You can see that I'm sculpting the shape of the jar, adding color after color. All these layers mix optically with each other, and the colors that are underneath show through the top layers. The fruits also will be painted in multiple layers. Their light tones will be cool, and the shadows will be warm. All tonal values can be separated into three big groups: light, mid-tones, and dark values. These three groups can be subdivided, so light tonal values will include highlight, light, and local light. The mid-tones group consists of light halftone, middle halftone, and dark halftone. And dark tonal values include core shadow, form shadow, and accent. I am applying these shades wet on dry, overlapping the borders of each color so they fuse together seamlessly on the paper. I hope you have learned something new about how to paint a still life in watercolor. Here is the finished artwork.